Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Nephthys Yugioh deck profile for May 2024. I'm a real big fan of the ritual playstyle that the Nephthys deck adapted over the years with the release of Hidden Summoners. We got a bunch of ritual support. We haven't really had much new support for the Nephthys deck, but I wanted to update it with some of the other ritual support we've received throughout the couple years since this support came out. And also, there's always a chance that we could try mixing them with Fire Kings in a future video, but wanted to go for more of a pure setup for the Nephthys deck with more of the generic ritual support that we can run with this destruction deck that focuses on destroying your Nephthys cards to gain additional card effects and even special summons. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters. For the Nephthys lineup, we're running 3 copies of Cerulean Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys. You can ritual summon this card with Rebirth of Nephthys. You can only use each of the following effects of Cerulean Sacred Phoenix once per turn. During your main phase, you can destroy Nephthys cards in your hand and or face up on the field, then destroy an equal number of monsters your opponent controls. So you have destruction power on top of being able to utilize the effects of the destroyed Nephthys cards. And during your next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. So just having the Phoenix playstyle that the deck is meant to represent, bringing you back your 3000 attack point resource on the field for you to reuse again with its other destruction effect. We're also running 3 copies of Devotee of Nephthys. You can ritual summon this card with Rebirth of Nephthys. You can only use each of the following effects of Devotee once per turn. If it's ritual summon, you can activate this effect to special summon 1 Nephthys monster from your deck. Also during the end phase, destroy this card. So it gives you access to some of the lower number cards we run, but also if it's in your graveyard, you can destroy a Nephthys card in your hand. If you do, special summon this card, giving you this resource back from the graveyard, and then once again benefiting depending on what you may have destroyed with your different Nephthys cards. With the last of our ritual monsters being 3 copies of Conductor of Nephthys. You can ritual summon this card with Rebirth of Nephthys. If this card's ritual summon, you can special summon 1 Nephthys ritual monster from your hand or deck, except for Conductor of Nephthys. This card is treated as a ritual summon. If this card is tributed or destroyed by a Nephthys card effect, you can activate this effect. During the next standby phase, destroy up to 3 Nephthys cards except for ritual monsters, 1 each from your hand, deck, and or field. You can only use each of the effects of Conductor once per turn, but having the tribute effect means you can use Conductor for Devotee's ritual play for the tribute of this card to then gain the additional destruction effects later on. For the effect main deck cards, 1 copy of Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys once per turn during your next standby phase after this card was destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, special summon it, and if you do, destroy all spell and traps on the field. So you can use your Sacred Phoenix to destroy the spell and traps that are set up, and then being able to destroy the monsters with the Cerulean Sacred Phoenix, having both of a special summon option to come back into the field and then just wipe out a good variety of different cards that are on the field. I do want to run 3 copies of one of the better cards being Disciple of Nephthys. Sadly, I only had the 1, so I have 2 Ronryu as placeholders because they do work with the special summon power of the different spellcaster type monsters we run in the deck. But with Disciple, during your main phase, you can destroy 1 card in your hand. If you do, add 1 Nephthys monster from your deck to your hand, except for Disciple of Nephthys. And during your next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Nephthys spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So this card being able to just destroy a card to give you a search power, as well as if your opponent were to destroy this card, having a spell and trap can set up all you need for your ritual play, grabbing you your monster and your spell off of 1 card. For the lower number, for the other Nephthys monsters, 2 copies of Matriarch of Nephthys. You can target a level 4 lower Nephthys monster in your graveyard, except for Matriarch. Destroy 1 card from your hand, and if you do, special summon the targeted monster in defense, but negate its effects. And during your next standby phase, after this card is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, giving you that resource back into the field to use for either the ritual play, since it is a level 2, or just more destruction plays. And also the 1 copy of Chronicler of Nephthys and the 1 copy of Defender of Nephthys, with this card giving you destruction plays as well as search power, being able to special summon a level 4 or lower Nephthys monster from your hand, being able to destroy a card, and then being able to add search power off of Chronicler, and both just 1-ofs for their additional destruction effects if you were to destroy them with cards like Conductor of Nephthys, destroy 3 effect, or just from the hand if you have them searched out. For more ritual power as well, well 3 copies of Diviner of Herald. When it's normal or special summon, you can send 1 fairy monster from your deck or extract to the graveyard to increase this card's level by that monster's level. And then also, if it's tributed, you can special summon 1 level 2 or lower fairy monster from your hand or deck. But we're mostly using this in the deck so we can have the send power of Herald of the Arclight to give us more of a ritual search, and then also just being able to use Diviner for the actual ritual play. And then for the rest of the main deck monsters, 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, just my hand trap spot of choice to run in the deck. I don't really run a big hand trap lineup because with ritual decks, I do like to focus more on just the actual ritual plays, and we do have a good number of destruction play setups as well as other interruptions with the spell and traps that we also run along with the Nephthys monsters. For the spells, running 3 copies of Rebirth of Nephthys. This is the main go-to ritual in the deck for the spell. This card can be used to ritual summon any Nephthys ritual monster. You must also tribute monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal or exceed the level of the ritual monster you ritual summon. Then if you tributed Devotee of Nephthys or Cerulean Sacred Phoenix, you can destroy 1 card on the field. That's why I like to run the multiple copies of these cards as well, because if you tribute themselves for their same counterparts, you'll get an extra destruction on top of their own summon on the field. And also the 1 copy of Last Hope of Nephthys. Target 1 other Nephthys card you control and 1 card your opponent controls, destroy them. So destruction power and being able to only activate once per turn, but still we have other search with our Nephthys monsters to be able to grab this card to our hand. I also run the 3 copies of Pre-Preparation of Rites, just adding the ritual spell off of this card from our hand. And then also just, it's mostly for that search since none of the ritual monsters specify the option or the spell doesn't specify the name listed on that ritual spell. It just searches out and summons all of the Nephthys monsters, but still we can just grab the ritual spell off of this card and then use Preparation of Rites to then add a level 7 or lower ritual monster from your deck to your hand. So while you sadly can't search Cerulean Sacred Phoenix, you can still search Conductor and Devotee and even add back the spell from our graveyard to our hand. Also 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. This can be infinite impermanence if you want to try out another trap option. I have 1 trap that I do like to run the deck, but still, with the banish costs for this deck, you can just have more of a search for the particular cards you may need for your play. And also the 1 copy of Call by the Grave to stop any of your opponent's hand traps that may stop our own monster effects. And then for the traps, instead of going with the infinite impermanence, I decided to try 3 Torrential Tribute. This can just interrupt a good number of your opponent's summons, but also give you benefits for your own destruction of your Nephthys cards on the field, having the special summon back power if you were to destroy 1 of your ritual monsters, or just more of that graveyard setup. That's why I also like the Call by the Grave, because Ghost Spell comes in play a lot when going up against this deck to stop those graveyard summons and card effects. For the extra deck, now I know that there are 2 ritual monsters, including Nephthys, the Sacred Preserver, which is one of the more important cards in the deck, being a searcher for your go-to, level 8 Winged Beast monsters from your deck to your hand. Sadly, I didn't have any of the Link monsters, including the Link 3 Nephthys monster as well. If you were to run those cards in the deck, I'd run 2 Sacred Preserver and 1 copy of the Link 3 Nephthys monster. And if you were to run them in the deck, I would take out the 1 Almirage, the 1 Dynamondo, and also the 1 copy of Nightmare Cerberus for the additional copies of the Nephthys Link monsters that you can put into the deck here. I also run the 1 copy of Win the Wind Charmer Verdant, the 1 Donner Dagger for Hire. If you wanted to keep the Dynamondo, I guess you could take out the Donner as another spot for the Nephthys Link monsters, the 1 IP Masquerena, along with the 1 Herald of Mirage Lights, and also for the bigger Link monsters, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, the 1 Apollosa, and the 1 Axis Code Talker. For the Xyz monsters, the 1 Gigantic Sprite. This one can lock you into some of your bigger ritual plays, but with some of your other plays, it really doesn't affect too much, because you'll still be able to summon out your level 2 ritual monsters while still being able to use Gigantic Sprite to grab some of our more important level 2 monsters as well. And then also the 1 Zeus and the 1 Sky Crisis for the rest of the options for their summons. And then also for the Herald, Diviner of Herald, 2 copies of Herald of the Arclight for the send plays to be able to gain the additional search of a ritual or ritual spell from our deck to our hand after this card is sent to the graveyard for Diviner of Herald's effect. But as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, the ritual setup and then being able to go into your Sacred Preserver Link 2 plays are definitely some of the more important ones, but cards like Disciple of Nephthys definitely can help to extend those plays pretty easily, being able to just destroy the one card in your hand off of Disciple of Nephthys. So depending on what's in your hand, you can set up plays for the following turn while giving you more and more additional searches off of those other cards. If you have then the search for more of your ritual spell play lineup, you can grab your additional summons for those cards. And then most of the time I do like to go for the level 2 ritual play. So if you're able to search this off of a Preparation of Rites or just open up in your hand to begin with, you can activate the Rebirth of Nephthys using either the monster that's on the field being Disciple, or if you use the Tributed Cerulean for summoning out Devotee to the field, you'll get the extra destruction effect on top of that, and then being able to use the effect to special summon a Nephthys monster from your deck, and then during the end of this turn destroy this card. So with that play you can grab another level 2 defender monster as well, having that additional destruction play, but then you could still extend your plays from here, either going into the Link 2 Sacred Preserver or even the rank 2 Xyz summon of our Gigantic Sprite, because then we can use the detached play of Gigantic Sprite to summon out to our field the Diviner of Herald, activating the effect of this card to send our Herald of the Arclight, and then from there we'll gain an additional search of either the ritual spell or the ritual monster from our hand off of this card, and still have the search and setup that we can do with our graveyard option to destroy a card to special summon Devotee back after we detach it off of the Xyz play. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, this is definitely an overlooked ritual deck, and it hasn't really gotten too much news support. I may consider a Fire King build to just, push more of the destruction plays, but I wanted to go for more of a focus of what this deck is actually meant to do with the Nephthys cards themselves. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.